just for a minute. Close your eyes for a second.
Hello, Posh Fam. I'm here with a new haircut. Yes, it's one of those things where with my hair, I don't know if it's a 4C hair, afro hair, it grows and then starts growing in and starts falling off. I'm losing my edges. And I just can't be bothered trying to be patient because I am not a patient person. So I just end up having a good barber just to give me a boss cut. So here we go, expressing myself with my new look. Now let's get into the shenanigans or all that went down in episode 8 of The Real Housewives of Pettiness. Before I dig right into that, first things first, guys. If you are not new here, you know how we do. Continue to support this channel by sharing the channel with your friends. And if you're new here, welcome. Just hit the notification bell and comment, like. I would like to hear from you. I would like to share your thoughts. I would like to respond to your opinion. And let's just get this whole train moving. I feel like we added a few new subscribers. I'm not sure, but if we did, thank you for joining this space. You are so welcome and I appreciate the support. Again, let's help us grow by spreading the news. With that said, let's get into all that happened in episode 8. I think Kiana in this particular, in fact, let me say Stacey was the comic relief we needed in this particular episode because Stacey, in fact, dragged these women on their wig and their lace wigs and their edges, all inclusive, dragged the filth out of all of them. Like, seriously, don't come for Stacey unless you got the wit to match her crazy or liners. Yeah, so as we know, the conclusion of the Pride Parade ended with the ladies having to go on a bus that cruised around town with the rest of the community. And then before all that was said, we do know that Kiana was trying to get messy by bringing up the fact that Stacey is dating Chris Samuels. Now, we all know that's not true. I feel like Stacey got that line in just to be able to get the rumor spreading and get a little bit of conversation started. And that has just morphed into something that we don't know what's happening right now. But I loved Monique's response. Monique was like, that is my ex. I'm pretty sure he should be in the streets by now doing his thing. So it doesn't matter who he's seeing. I really don't care. And if you didn't say shut up, Kiana, that right there said, clock it, Kiana. You ain't got nothing to share. And I just felt Kiana trying to be messy. You know, they are tick-tagging now between Angel and Kiana, trying to get more story time, more airtime from just antagonizing Wendy and Stacey. That's their model of operandi. That is the reason why they are here this season. They ain't got anything to share. Nothing, quite literally. Now, we move on from this to a sit-down with the ladies just as the Pride Parade concluded. And this was where, you know, Monique got to give us an insight as to what has happened in the last 5 years of her life, you know, post exiting the show and all that happened that led to the breakdown of her marriage. And she was quite candid. Actually, she gave kudos to Giselle for, you know, should I say, understanding where she was at during or while she was married and seeing the little things that she was doing that Giselle felt she probably was overdoing and overcompensating for something. And we see Monique admitting, you know, to that fact. And according to Monique, she always had to please, you know, to make her husband happy. She always had to be the one to give. And we all know not every time couples give 100% each or 50% to equal the 100% that your marriage needs to thrive. You know, sometimes it takes one person giving 100 and the other person giving 0. It takes one person giving 80 and the other person giving 20. And, you know, so on and so forth. Nevertheless, there has to be a reciprocation. And when that reciprocation is not felt, you know, reconciliation becomes hard because resentment then builds up. And I guess this is where Monique decided or made the realization that her marriage was over. Now, you would understand why I am harping on this a little bit more, because this particular conversation morphed into a whole lot of gossip, a whole lot of messiness that we are still, I'm yet unsure how the fact that Kiana laid it down very weirdly, I still don't know. But I would say, moving on, Wendy had a sit down with Monique, and this is where Monique got to, gain an insight as to who Monique was. Because just as Wendy was coming into the franchise, Monique was exiting, and the exit was, in part linked to Wendy's friend Candice. And so Candice was Wendy's friend, and you would understand Wendy being loyal to her friend. And so that relationship, or she didn't get to explore any dynamic or any relationship between herself and Monique. And so this time around is the second go round. So Wendy decided, to have a sit down with Monique, and they did, hear each other's out. And I guess from this space, they are able to forge ahead to see what lies ahead or what comes out of their blossoming or soon to blossom relationship. Now I'm going to start off with Angel. I honestly, you can see my eyes about to roll out my head just calling her name. Chick has got nothing on. Nothing. I feel like production is even trying to recycle what she said 5 episodes ago to just make it seem like she's got some type of content, because I feel this particular conversation she had with her husband, she'd already had it like multiple times over. They went on a real estate tour. They're trying to find a new home. I think that's probably embellished. Are they really? I'm not sure. And again, she is on with Wendy not taking accountability for what Wendy didn't do. So, and that's exactly how I just put it. Like, she wants Wendy to take accountability for what Wendy did not do. Okay? And this is a girl that pretty much took chin check. Now, we all know what chin check means. And said, it's okay. Kiana didn't mean to chin check me. Now, this is Kiana doing something, right? And you give her a pass. Wendy has done nothing wrong. Or Wendy, I think they will probably laugh at your face and you're blowing it out of proportion. And that's what he's saying, because she's telling her husband, the guy seems exhausted from all of the conversation, but insufferable. He has no choice. He has to put up with this. I feel bad, but quite literally, he has to put up with her going on and on yet again, and trying to psych herself up to confront Wendy, because that's what she's doing. She's trying to psych herself up in order to confront Wendy. Now, not confronting Giselle, who called her catfish, but now it's Wendy who laughed at the fact that she is catfishing. Now, so let's just qualify all of this, because it's clear. Chick doesn't even know who she is. So her catfish, the catfish phrase sort of matches what we're seeing. Her personality is flawed. Her visual representation of herself on social media, double flawed. And so we don't know who this woman is. I guess maybe I'm going to give her the pass today, but she's quite exhausting, quite literally. Her storyline is non-existent, makes for a snooze fest. And so her leeching on Wendy to try and get some airtime. If I were Wendy, I will pay her dust and not even acknowledge her presence, because quite this time around, it's giving desperation now. It's giving anything that can get you to, have a beef with me. Well, Kiana, you might want to take your girl out and give her some coaching lessons. She really needs it. She is lacking and struggling at the same time. So before we get to Stacey's mess, because this is how I'm tagging my episode, it's a phrase off of Temu. Not exactly Temu, the Asian clothing line, retail line online. It's more Temu, Stacey's ex-boyfriend, ex-husband. Now, I'm not trying to be messy. This is exactly how Stacey qualifies her on and off again husband. Okay, we're gonna leave it there. But Giselle hung out with the girls, Kiana, Ashley, and Tia. Now they caught up for lunch because Giselle is going to be hosting the girls for her reasonably shady milestone achievement. So when they gathered, they all had the conversation, gave her the praise, and we're sort of planning of how the day was going to go. And very quickly, Kiana came up with this particular information she heard from Cookie. Cookie with the voluptuous Cookie. Yeah, is that what it is? Volume here. And apparently, the conversation that was had, where this girl sat down with Monique, that she talked about the breakdown of her marriage and all of the realization that she has, come to now. Apparently, while she was on the phone with Cookie also was on the phone with Chris Samuels, who was, upset at the fact that Monique bagged him during that conversation, basically said that their marriage was sort of empty, that even intimacy was quite frankly forced, and it was a struggle. Now, Kiana was the deliverer of this particular gist. And according to Kiana, it felt Stacey called Chris Samuels to relay all what Monique said during the girls' chat. Now, if Stacey did say this, it is breaking the girls' code. There was no need for this feedback. There was no need for this Chinese whisper type of gossip. However, it doesn't seem, and I'm having it going. I cannot defend Stacey. This woman lies she lies like she drinks water. It's so fluent that she doesn't even remember the next thing she says after she says it. And so when Kiana sort of blamed Stacey for being the one having this particular backhanded conversation, it felt like Kiana was having a little go at Stacey. That's my opinion. But again, we don't know. Although for me, this could have been made up just to get some more airtime, because what I'm hearing on the internet space is the fact that Chris Samuels has actually denied this conversation ever happened. So between Cookie, Kiana, and the rest, who knows where this particular conversation will conceive from. Now, don't forget, because while this conversation was being had, there were a lot of extras on the floor. So somebody could have quite literally been recording all of this and relayed it back to Chris. We do not know. So why blame Stacey? She's an easy target. And the girl has been carrying this season on her shoulders. What more can this girl take? Now, before we get into the specifics of how the night ended on this episode, Tia paid a visit or Stacey had invited Tia to meet Timu, Timu for the first time. Now, Timu is literally a man of very little words, okay? The only thing I could pick is you must be very special, hence my catchphrase for my video, or for my thumbnail today. And that's exactly what he said. Stacey was doing most of the talking. Apparently, she invited Tia because Tia is new to the group, and so Tia still, is unaware of what transpired the season before, because Stacey came in with a man, previous season. That was how she introduced herself. Now, was this an orchestrated plot by her and her ex-current, whatever husband this guy who Timu is to her now? I feel so. Although Timu is a little bit uncomfortable, you could see his cheek was so red that you literally could help him and say, we need to get some sunscreen on, mate, because your cheek is red. He was so uncomfortable while she was there. But I honestly understood, because he feels embarrassed that the wife had peddled or flaunted another man, even though they made it quite clear that there was nothing going on behind closed doors. We knew that. We saw that. You didn't need a child to tell you that between Stacey and her fake guy, it was fake and for storyline. Okay, and so when she did say, she found Tia special to have, met Timu, I was like, okay, girl, well, and Tia was playing the part. She wanted to know more about Timu, even tried to invite Timu to go out on a lunch date with her husband, as well as Wendy and Wendy's husband. And he said, I'm actually flying the day of this particular invite, the night. And so it was, again, harmless, seamless. You wouldn't give it a second thought, because he did say he was not going to be around. And Stacey was like, I don't want him at the moment to be in the space of this woman just yet. He finds it a little bit uncomfortable, to which he nodded. And I think when the conversation got a little bit, how are you going, or who are you coming with? Who's accompanying you for the reasonably shady shindig? She said she could tag team with Tia and Tia's husband. And I don't want to use the word she did, but she did allude to a multiple space crowding, if you know what I mean. And Tia agreed. And so this sort of ended the conversation between these ladies. And it felt kumbaya. It felt peaceful. It felt like an olive branch was extended in getting to build a friendship. So we thought. Because when Tia then had a sit down with Wendy and their husbands, which was very organic, by the way, it was so strange that Tia then said, wow, it related everything, because Stacey did say, the reason I'm introducing you to my husband first is because I trust you more than the rest. And that offended Wendy, because Wendy has taken this girl on her wings lately. You know, she's been confiding in Wendy. Wendy has been on her side and trying to support her, even when the girls are coming for her, you know, all season long. And there's only been 8 episodes, right, this season. And so I think as any girl will feel a little bit slightly offended. And so Wendy, being a straight shooter, rang Stacey to say, girl, what's the go? I have yet to meet your husband. Not that I'm forcing the relationship to happen, but you then throwing a little bit of dig at me, I find it a little bit, you know, not nice. And again, Stacey was so quick to say, no, I should have introduced you. Stacey sounded like a teenager just struggling to make friends. And Tia was now over it at this point because there were a lot of inconsistency to the story that was relayed with regards to Timu being present or absent or whatever. We actually found out that Timu isn't going anywhere, Dude isn't traveling anywhere. Dude doesn't just want to be a part of this mess. And I can understand. These ladies are vultures right here. They're going to eat this. But Tia and Stacey was like, I am coming for your neck, Stacey. I trusted you, Stacey. Oh, Stacey was like, I trusted you, Tia, but now you're trying to ruin my friendship with Wendy. I was like, these ladies are not serious. Okay. Whatever. Moving on. Now, this particular episode ended with the girls gathering at Giselle's event, okay? You would think Robin will be a part of this freestyle motion because this particular podcast, you know, it's the two of them. And so you would say this milestone, 10 million download, that is huge. Because they only started this, a couple years ago, 2 years ago, and look at how fast they have grown with the endorsement deals and the financial benefits and wherewithal that they have had and the success they have had. And so I was expecting Robin to be there, but unfortunately, Robin had her own ideas. But again, we could understand she probably wanted a check to be present, not be a friend to a show which she was a part of. Yeah, I can understand. I can relate. Okay. And so just as the night sort of progressed, we saw the girls gathering. First of all, Angel addressed Giselle, but before she could even say anything, she said, you already apologized and I have accepted. So now I need to confront Wendy because Wendy said catfish. And you could see Giselle's face being a little bit confused as to what Angel was all about. But nevertheless, they had to move on because they had a bigger fish to fry. And so, because of course, Cookie was there and they had to address the elephant in the room. And that went south pretty quickly because when Kiana brought the conversation up, Stacey didn't even know what the hell they were talking about. Stacey was like, I do not know what you're talking about. I have no conversation. I have had no conversation with Chris. I would not be the one to have done this. We don't know. Okay, we don't know. And Cookie was like, yes, it was you. Now, for me, Cookie, I'm not sure why you're here. I know Karen isn't here. You are her spokesperson via the jail cell. So why you're here remains a little bit of a mystery. And this is where Wendy stepped in. Wendy was like, I had to sit down with Monique. And Monique quite literally said, this woman, I don't trust. And I would like Monique to be here while Cookie is delivering the goods on this because I feel this is in part all about Monique, and so we should respect that and have Monique present to have this conversation in whole, which I kind of agree because when they have this type of conversation and someone goes back to relate, it becomes Chinese whisper. It is said in a way, in a tone that wasn't the way it was relayed in the first place, and then there's all this extra beef that we have to then confront and manage until they both have that open, messy conversation, which sometimes takes time because there are other conversations that they have to have before they get to this. And so very quickly, I think Stacey pointed at Cookie. Cookie was like, don't point your finger at me. And she was trying to get physical. Now I'm looking at Cookie. Cookie, I know all those boobies you've got on your chest. You think you've got all of that strength. It takes only one hit and you probably be trying to hold your mammary glands for dear life. Now, yeah, it wasn't necessary to try and have a physical altercation. It showed class not, if anything. And I like the way Stacey was like, I'm going to come stand by you. Let me see what you can do. And I'm pretty sure Stacey will be like, 911, there is some crazy lunatic woman here. And Giselle is all about security. Come get this crazy out of my event. Now the night ended, but not without Tia confronting Stacey and literally calling Stacey a liar and not wanting to mess with her anymore. And the fact that she was trying to give Stacey the benefit of the doubt. And now with all of the lies that's being peddled by Stacey, she doesn't trust Stacey anymore. And Stacey, you know, I like the way Tia talks because her British accent just makes it so funny and comic-y that you just cannot help yourself but laugh. It's meant to be serious, but Tia doesn't really take it seriously. Tia literally saying, "You're not my friend, you're my foe." It's giving really childish. Okay. I love Tia, by the way. She is a lovely addition to this franchise. She brings the relief, but for now, we're just only getting to know her. Hopefully, she stays and remains authentic and not try to be something that she's not. I would say this though. There was a conversation between Kiana and Stacey right before cameras cut off. So we will be talking about this in episode 9. But it's safe to say that Stacey read Kiana for filth. Because Kiana was like, "I would not want my husband around you." To which Stacey said, "Bitch, you ain't got one." That is how we're going to be closing this particular episode. Come on the comment section and tell me what you think about episode 8. It was the Stacey show, this particular episode, and I loved every lie she told. Okay, now thank you so much for staying on. I cannot wait to catch up with you in the next download. We'll talk soon, and remember, you are deserving. Bye.